Il est pratiquement 20h à Paris. Bienvenue dans cette édition spéciale consacrée à la réponse d'Emmanuel Macron face à la crise des gilets jaunes. Le président français va prendre la parole dans une allocution enregistrée pour tenter de désamorcer la crise. Emmanuel Macron devra annoncer des mesures concrètes et immédiates. Les manifestants et les députés attendent des mesures fortes. Le discours d'Emmanuel Macron, alors va-t-il convaincre les gilets jaunes? Comment répondre à leur colère? Sommes-nous à un tournant du quinquennat? Y aura-t-il un virage social, un virage fiscal? Les annonces vont-elles suffire? Emmanuel Macron pourra-t-il poursuivre les réformes? On suivra son discours avec Roselyne Fèvre, qui est chef du service politique de France 24. Bonsoir Roselyne.
Bonsoir Stéphanie.
Également à mes côtés, Jean-Marc Vittori, éditorialiste aux Échos, et également Émilie Cariou, députée La République En Marche de la Meuse. On écoute tout de suite le président de la République.
Françaises, Français, nous voilà ensemble au rendez-vous de notre pays et de notre avenir. Les événements de ces dernières semaines dans l'Hexagone et Outre-mer ont profondément troublé la nation. Ils ont mêlé des revendications légitimes et un enchaînement de violences inadmissibles.
Good evening. This is BR on the World. It's our international affairs program from WBRN Radio and on the Boston Red Network. We've aired a number of these over the years, and we've been a bit tardy, let's say, recently in airing these. We have returned to airing them, and hopefully we'll have one at least once a week. We did have a program called The News in a Minute. It was about 5 minutes or so. We aired a number of those, and we are working now on our new production system, and as soon as we get it up and running, we'll be able to produce these at a much quicker pace. On the 10th of December 2018 from the Jerry Pippin broadcast booth, and my voice is not as good as it should be. This is the title of the episode is Emmanuel Macron and the Yellow Vests. As it's been reported in the media, each motorist in France is required to have this yellow warning vest. You've seen yellow warning vests around here in the States that people carry for emergencies. Nonetheless, these marches have been marching. This was the fourth week of the marches, and it has a very wide support. In this broadcast, you will hear the President Emmanuel Macron, and in both English and also in French. It's a bilingual production, and we're appreciative of French 24 for the live broadcast. It's about 12 minutes or so, and you will have an opportunity to get this. We'll start the episode in French, and then we came to the part that I have here. And we'll start our coverage with the BBC just to hit the high points. Nonetheless, what has President Macron said? He promised to increase the minimum wage in France by 100 euros per month. That will be starting next month in 2019. And his polling numbers have been down, way down. There, and from the commentary here, this is Hugh Schofield, that Macron had no choice. And political promises will not suffice. If you recall, in the French elections, Emmanuel Macron created a party of his own. He did not run out of the traditional parties. He is a young man in his, I believe, late 30s, and a former investment banker. He's sort of a middle-of-the-road type person, and the type of politics, and we see this happening more and more in various Western countries, that the current economic regimes are not meeting the needs of the people. Inequality in France is very, very large, and it has been that way. And one of the things Macron did was decrease the tax on the rich. I'm just looking at some polling here. They started this particular polling with Nicolas Sarkozy. The CEO Nicolas Sarkozy, he was at 44%, which was there. And then we have François Hollande was at 22%, and Emmanuel Macron at 29% and going down. But from the BBC's analysis, the protesters adapted the name after social media campaign urging people to wear highway visibility vests. We've already put that out there. But the people that are out there are a broad sector of the French society, both from the urban centers and the so-called suburbs. It started on the 17th of November. There were roughly 285,000 protesters. One person died and 409 were wounded. 73 were taken into custody. The second week, November 24th, 166,000 protesters, 84 were wounded, 307 taken into custody. On December the 1st, 136,000 protesters, one died and 263 were wounded, and 630 were taken into custody by the gendarmes. And the last protests, these are estimates, 136,000 protesters, 118 wounded, and roughly 1,200 were taken into custody. So this is the saga that they face, and for this particular government, the Yellow Vests are planning more protests next weekend. They are evidently working every weekend. From the Wall Street Journal, this is something you will not hear. This is in France. This is Christine Poumailloux. This is a shopkeeper struggling to make ends meet. She is in Montauquin. Wait a minute here. Montauquin, France. I don't know where it is. It is a fading industrial town. It would be compared to a town, say, in Ohio or in Pennsylvania. She has a deep dislike for Macron. The former investment banker that advocates a free market overhaul of France. Finally, a movement has emerged to channel her angry. The gilets are the Yellow Vests. This month, she's 58 years old, and who was dodging tear gas and stun grenades in her vest near the Arc de Triomphe. And this particular person, this is from the Wall Street Journal. I've never protested before in my life. Ms. Poumailloux said, since Macron is there, anger has been rising and rising and rising. And in small towns like Montauquin, France, who watched with silent skepticism as Macron racked up political victories, are rising against his vision for remaking the nation. Or his political, disillusioned groups comprise hidden resistance in areas far from the glittering center of Paris, where low wages, high taxes, and deep suspicion of Macron laid the groundwork for the movement that is threatening his pro-business agenda. You've seen that in many, many places. Last week, gilets jaunes showed no sign of letting up. More than hundreds of thousands of people took to the street, the fourth consecutive week of protests. Businesses around the country were again forced to shutter on Saturday at the height of the Christmas shopping season. Threatening to slow down the economy, on Monday, the Bank of France said a survey of business activity suggests the fourth quarter growth will be half that suspected before the protests. This isn't going to stop unless some very strong signals are sent by the government. That is from Christopher Narat. He is one of the protesters from gilets movement. A sense of deep economic unease in the French hinterlands is funding of the movement. In this particular town here, Montaucon, sets right in the center of France, in a rural area not served by high-speed train lines that link the nation's biggest cities to the French capital. Ms. Poumailloux opened a picture frame shop, but after the payroll taxes and other expenses, she can't yet afford to pay herself a salary. She relies on 500 euros a month of welfare. These payments in next month, at which point she's planning to sell some of her belongings to support herself. That's incidentally $559. She first heard about the gilets jaunes after seeing on Facebook. A truck driver created it, called a national demonstration on the 17th. The first day it was supposed to put gilets in our cars. I said yes, yes, yes. Mr. Macron, first appeared on the radar of many of the Yellow Vest protesters when he was economic minister under Francois Hollande. He pushed through a law that lifted a host of restrictions on businesses. His resume as an investment banker, his reputation as a free market advocate earned him distrust amongst those who become the Yellow Vests. While he garnered 66% of the vote in the runoff, that was with the far-right candidate Marine Le Pen, if you remember her. He only took 24% in the first round, compared with Le Pen at 21%. A third of registered voters didn't vote. Its obvious choice was either the ultra-liberalism that's not good or the ultra-rightism that's not good either. That is from Ms. Poumailloux. It said that for the first time in my life, I didn't vote in the second round. Other Yellow Vests, as you knew, turned to the extreme of French politics rather than back him. This is Macron. And won't finish all this. For decades, the driver of the group was a tire factory, Goodyear Tire and Rubber, of all things, that once employed thousands. There are just 750 left. Well, they still have a plant. By May, the company signed an agreement with the unions to cut to 88 jobs under a new law passed by Macron. Oh boy. So this is what has happened from the Wall Street Journal. Now let's briefly here look at some of the newspapers. La Humanité, one of the newspapers from the left here. Let me just a minute here. Le Mans, les annoncées de Macron, c'est premier fin d'année, Hukri, supplementary, Felice. That's the headline there. For my reading of it, but this is from Le Mans, which is a middle-of-the-road newspaper. Back we go, Le Figaro, which is a conservative newspaper, si quan annonce Macron pas certé de la crisis dash in the yellow vest is the headline in Le Figaro. Let me go back to and get their La Humanité. This is the left-wing newspaper. Nice picture here. C'est la Nationale 7, la Carré des now pas des vacancies. I'm not sure here. Des centennial day occupy les ronds-points de la route mystique Paris the difficulty finally la most de engaging the Spaza. Anyway, as I long through this here, reading the headline here, but nonetheless, what they are saying here is the long struggle of the yellow vest, qualas se ni pas question de rente occupados point C transforma licon in operation escape good qual plus riches si c'est di in mettant toujours plus deles projets and I need to work on my French. But anyway, I'll put a little of this in the show line so that we can see it. But this is one of those events that is meant covering. So we have used the French papers, French 24, and we didn't go to the English versions. There is an English version of some of these papers. Probably to most people, Le Mans is the more well-known of the papers out here, and also the conservative version here, Le Figaro. It's you'll hear the headlines from this paper. Read many times. Excuse me, I didn't get up the actually this is a subscription page. We're not interested in that, but anyway, nonetheless, we'll have other reports where we'll be able to present the other versions of these it's not here. Anyway, of these papers, the English version and the French version, and I promise we'll work on our French. But we'll go with La Humanité. It is the left-wing version, and you can even buy a version here of from Karl Marx. Karl Marx, Le coup des jaunes. Anyway, some of the things from La Humanité. We don't have it, but we'll go now back to the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, and his address is in English, and then on to the French address there. We came in with the French introduction, and another headline here, and this is a photo we're using, is Macron fallait player la collecte la place du 40. In other words, that is for French there. So these people are looking at outside in their vests, looking at him on a computer screen. This will do it for us. My voice, I'm sorry, my French is worse than it normally is because my voice is out there. But we have put a turn on it, as I say, on the 10th of December 2018 from the Jared Pippin broadcast booth. This is BR on the World. This is a program several years ago. I don't know if we'll ever rename this or not. We probably want, we used to call it Boston Red on the World, and then now it's, so effectively it's the Boston Red Network, BR on the World.
Weeks in France and overseas have deeply disturbed the nation. They include legitimate claims and expressions of violence that are unacceptable. And I would like to say so immediately. This violence will benefit from no indulgence on our part. We have seen the opportunists who have tried to take advantage of sincere anger to manipulate it. We have all seen, we've all witnessed irresponsible politicians whose only aim is to cause disorder and anarchy. No anger can justify attacking a police officer, a gendarme, damaging public buildings or businesses. Our freedom exists only because and when each of us can express opinions which others may not share. Nobody must fear disagreements. When violence exists, freedom stops. So calm and the Republican order must be enforced. We will deploy every means. Nothing sustainable can be developed if we fear for civil peace. I have ordered the government to implement rigorous measures. But at the beginning, at the origins of all this, we mustn't forget that there is anger, there is indignation. And this indignation, many of us, many French citizens share this indignation and this anger. And I don't want to reduce this only to the unacceptable behavior of a minority. The anger was caused by a tax. The Prime Minister responded by cancelling all the tax increases that had been planned. But the anger was deep. And in many ways, this anger is legitimate. And it gives us an opportunity as well. The employees who get up early in the morning and yet can't make ends meet at the end of the month. The mother, the single mother divorcee who doesn't have the means of improving her financial situation and who has no hope. I have seen for the first time the distress of these women. Modest retirees who have worked all their lives, contributed, and who have trouble living off their retirement pensions. People who are fragile, who are handicapped, whose status in society is not sufficiently recognized. Their distress is not new. But we had, in a cowardly way, we had got used to it, and everything seemed to suggest that we had forgotten them. After 40 years a malaise has emerged of workers, of villages, neighborhoods where public services have been diminishing, where living conditions have deteriorated. People feel they are not being listened to. Changes, deep changes, new lifestyles which adversely affect our society. And this exists, and it exists today. Of course, for a year and a half, we haven't responded sufficiently well, sufficiently quickly, and I assume my share of responsibility for this situation. I may have given you the feeling that I had other concerns and other priorities. I know that some of you have also been hurt by some of my words. This evening, I would like to be very clear with you. If I have fought to change the political system in place, the habits, the hypocrisies, it's precisely because I believe above all in our country, and I love our country. I believe my legitimacy isn't based on a title, a party. My legitimacy comes from you, and you alone. Many other countries are also experiencing a difficult period, but I deeply believe that we can find a way out of this crisis all together. I want this for France because it is our calling. Through history, we have always shown the way. We have opened up new avenues, and I want this for all of us, French citizens, people who is divided, who doesn't comply with its laws, and who doesn't. It's because of this crisis that I wanted to reconcile you and lead you. So I haven't forgotten my commitment, and I haven't forgotten this need. First of all, there is an economic and social state of emergency, I decree. We want to build a France based on merit, hard work, where our children will live in better conditions than us. This can only be achieved through apprenticeship, better schools and universities, training that will teach the younger people and less young people how to work, investment in schools and training. We want a France where people can live in a dignified way from their earnings. We have gone too slowly. I want to intervene quickly and in practical terms in this area. I ask the government and parliament to do what is necessary so that people can live in better conditions from their work. The salary of workers will rise by €100 per month from 2019 onward without costing anything more to the employers. Extra work should generate extra revenues. Overtime should be paid without taxes and without charges. And I want a real improvement to be perceptible. That's why I will ask all employers who can to pay an end-of-year bonus to their employees, and which will not be taxed and will not generate any social charges. Retirees are a precious asset. Those who are paid less than €2,000 per month, we will cancel the tax increase that we had planned. We have already asked them to make an unjustly big effort. And next, very soon, the Prime Minister will submit all these decisions to Parliament. But we mustn't stop there. I need our large companies, our wealthier citizens, help our country to succeed. I will bring them together to make decisions this week. I know that some people in this context want me to go back on the reform of the wealth tax. This wealth tax has existed for 40 years. The wealth tax, of course, has sometimes led to wealthy people leaving the country. This tax was cancelled for people who invested in the country, and those who have a fortune have continued to pay the wealth tax. We can't go back. We will not go back. This would weaken us. We need to create jobs.
Le gouvernement et le Parlement
the government and Parliament must go further to put an end to the unjustified benefits, advantages, and to tax evasion. The wealthier people, the managers, can pay their taxes in France.
Nous répondrons à l'urgence
We
économique
will
et sociale
meet
par des mesures fortes.
the emergency, the social and economic emergency, by quicker tax cuts, better control over expenditure.
J'entends
I
que le gouvernement
intend
poursuive
I want the government to continue transforming our country. The people voted for this 18 months ago. We have to reform the state. We also have to reform unemployment benefits and retirement benefits. These are indispensable measures. We want rules that are clearer, simpler, fairer, and which reward hard work. Today, it's also with our collective project that we must move forward for France and for Europe. That's why the national debate must be broader. For that purpose, we must above all assume altogether all our responsibilities, the responsibility to produce and to redistribute wealth, the responsibility to learn, to be free, the responsibility to change in order to take into account climate change and other challenges, and to succeed. We must come together and we must tackle all the key issues together. I want the right questions to be asked about representation of opinions, to allow the diversity of opinions to be better represented. We must take into account the abstention, the people who abstain from voting, or people who are not members of political parties. The balance of our taxation to be both just and efficient, and the question of our day-to-day lives to face climate change, housing, traveling, and the right solutions will emerge. I would like to raise the question of the organization of the state, how it's too centralized. For decades it has been too centralized, and the question of public services across the whole of our country. I also want us to agree. I want to reconcile the nation with its deep identity. We must tackle the question of immigration. We have to tackle immigration. These deep changes call for sharing a debate, an unprecedented debate, and sharing our thoughts. It must be a national debate in our institutions. Everybody will be able to participate. The government, parliament, social partners, associations, non-profit organizations, and you yourselves. I will coordinate this. I will listen to the opinions. I need to take the pulse of our country. But such a debate is not only the role of representatives. It must be everywhere, in the field. There are natural interlocutors for citizens who must listen to what people are saying. The mayors are the natural interlocutors. They are the representatives of the Republic in the field. That's why I will be meeting the mayors of France in all the regions of France to establish the base of our new contract with the nation. We will not resume the normal course of our lives, like so often in the past after crises, without really drawing any lessons from our experiences, from our crises. We are at a historic juncture for our country. Through dialogue, through mutual respect and commitment, we will succeed. We are going to work very hard. I will report to you on a regular basis. My only concern is you. My only fight is for you, on your behalf. Our only battle is the battle for France. Long live the Republic. Long live France.
I think it will make a difference to some protesters, and I think it will play well in the wider population that supports the protesters. I think, though, for most protesters, anything short of Macron announcing his own resignation would not have been sufficient. So I think that the main question really will be, do the measures that he's announced, piecemeal though they might seem, will those measures be sufficient to kind of stem the widespread public support that the Gilets jaunes movement currently enjoys?
And what did you make of Macron's tone? He seemed to shoulder blame more than many people expected, saying while the violence isn't justified, the anger behind it is.
Yeah, I mean, he started off on a very firm note. He started off by talking about the violence, and then he proceeded to kind of emote about the situation of what he took to be typical Gilets jaunes. I mean, I think the fact is he doesn't really know who typical Gilets jaunes are. I think he still appeared out of touch, despite the rather misty-eyed presentation of himself that was given in that relatively short speech of around 13 minutes.
You touched on something that so many people still have questions about. It's not as clear-cut as if you disapprove of Macron, you approve of this yellow vest movement. Can you give us any more insight on who these protesters are? Well,
so I mean, there are numerous different sections of society, but it's predominantly the working poor and the middle classes who are becoming increasingly immiserated, who are looking forward as well to the next generation, looking at the prospects for their children and thinking, well, if things carry on as they are, my children are going to be worse off than I am. So I think it's an association of different people. Obviously, there has also been a certain amount of, if you like, infiltration of some of the street protests, particularly in Paris, by radical groups from the far left and the far right. But that really isn't the mainstay of the movement, and people forget that, particularly looking from abroad, that the movement is widespread throughout the provinces of France. So while all eyes are focused on the Champs-Élysées and the kind of the spectacular violence and public order policing operations that take place there, you've got fuel depots blocked, you've got roundabouts and toll plazas blocked. The kind of country is in a kind of a paralysis. And I don't think the concessions that we've heard Emmanuel Macron make this evening will go nearly far enough to persuade those ordinary people who are blockading the country essentially to abandon their posts.
And you're right, there is a big city versus countryside element to this movement. Could these changes that Macron proposed today help make a dent in the idea that his government really only works for the rich and those living in cities?
I think it was really interesting in the last part of his speech where he talked about opening a big national debate. And he presented this as though he himself were opening that debate, and he would be going out to consult with the people, and he would be talking to local mayors in particular to see what they could channel to him in terms of the kind of public discontent. But actually, the debate has already been opened, and it's been opened by the protesters, and it's been opened in a way that he didn't foresee and he didn't choose. So I think it's a bit late in the day to be talking about opening a debate. And I think also the detail was really lacking in that last part. This is a movement that it started off by protesting against one particular kind of tax, these green taxes. Then it protested against the wealth tax, which notably he didn't give way on today. And then it kind of broadened out to questioning the very legitimacy and fairness of the entire tax system very, very quickly. So really, this is a questioning of the legitimacy of the state structure, if you like, and the governing classes that for many people in France are running that state structure for their own benefit. So I really don't think the speech goes far enough in addressing those fundamental, if you like, kind of concerns about democratic deficit and legitimacy.
Right, and while he did shoulder some of the blame, he also said these are 40 years of malaise that have come to the surface, insinuating or straight out saying that, this was a long time coming. So what do you think about the timing? Do you think that Macron waited too long to make this speech? It had been 10 days since the nation had heard from him.
Well, I think his advisors would tell you that, he was trying to stay out of the public debate because his own person seems to be such a target of embitterment on the part of the protesters. It's become a really visceral, the anger is really viscerally directed against him. And in some ways, I think for the movement, he symbolizes in his person the privilege of the privileged and governing classes in France. So, he waited, taking another view of it, he waited because, he's counting on the arrival of Christmas, I think, diffusing some of the protests, and the longer he can string it out, the better it will be for him.
Oliver Davis from
is because she's been listening to both what is being said in the House and what is being said outside, and that clearly there is a real problem around the Irish backstop that is really supposed to avoid a hard border between the Republic of Ireland, an EU member, and will continue to be so, and one of the four nations of the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland. The Labour leader not impressed at all, saying she has lost control of events, that she should resign, that her government is a shambles. He wants a general election. Doesn't look like he may get it, but he may push for a vote of no confidence in her government. The Scottish National Party, its First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, is challenging Jeremy Corbyn to actually ask for that vote of no confidence, and says that the SNP MPs in the House of Commons would support that. So an embattled Prime Minister leeching away power, and can she persuade anybody if and when she goes to Brussels in the coming days? Can she get any concessions at all on this Irish backstop?
The Yemeni city of Hodeidah has become a sticking point for peace in the country. Talks are underway in Sweden this week between the Saudi-backed government and the Houthi rebels, who are backed by Iran. Both sides want control over Hodeidah's port. France 24's Luke Schrego is covering the talks from Sweden and gives us more details.
Well, it was the first official update from UN Special Envoy Martin Griffiths, and he gave us a rundown moving forward for the Yemeni peace talks. Now, there was great optimism over the fact that both sides are working together, with a hope for this could well be the first round of many such consultations. Now, there is expected to be an announcement on finalised numbers of prisoners to be exchanged. The word is soon. Whereas other issues are somewhat harder. Now, there is, in terms of de-escalation over the cities of Taiz and the Hodeidah, the word is that we are not there yet, although both the Yemeni government and the Houthis are working to try and find common ground, and will keep talking about the issue. They're working too to find common ground over the intractable issue of the reopening of Sana'a airport. This does show the dedication that exists here between both sides not to let these talks fail. The word next is that there is a possible next round that could be as early as next year. There will hopefully be a word on that by the end of the week in terms of a detailed plan.
After 23 days under arrest, Carlos Ghosn's legal woes may just be getting started. On Monday, Japanese prosecutors formally filed charges against the former Nissan chairman. He allegedly underreported his pay for 3 years. But Ghosn was also served a second arrest warrant, which allows authorities to continue to interrogate him. Erin Ogunki brings us the story.
From one of the car industry's most powerful executives to inmate in this maximum security Japanese detention center. And it may not be the end of his stay. Japanese prosecutors have formally charged Carlos Ghosn with financial misconduct. The former Nissan chairman is accused of underreporting his income by roughly $44 million between 2010 and 2015. Though the maximum of 23 days in detention before charges are issued expired on Monday, the automobile mogul was arrested again over separate allegations of financial misconduct. The new charges allege Ghosn continued under-declaring his salary over the past 3 years. Prosecutors have also indicted Ghosn's top aide, Greg Kelly, and Nissan for their roles in the alleged violations. Under Japan's Financial Instruments and Exchange Act, public Japanese companies must submit security reports annually to the government and the Tokyo Stock Exchange to ensure transparency for investors. Both Greg Kelly and Carlos Ghosn, who was the head of an alliance between Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi, after Renault appointed Thierry Bolloré as interim CEO. Nissan, for its part, has begun the process of designating Ghosn's successor, with a final decision expected on December 17th. If convicted, Ghosn could face up to 10 years in prison.
And finally, the 2018 Nobel Peace Laureates accepted their awards on Monday, and both used their speeches to call on the world to protect victims of wartime sexual violence. Ruba Abbas reports on the pair's criticism of indifference toward the plight of women and children.
Along with the pomp and ceremony, it is an accolade that has unrivaled prestige. Emotions ran high as Nadia Murad and Dr. Denis Mukwege received their Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo. They were honoured for their efforts to put an end to rape as a weapon of war. Murad is a Yazidi woman who was enslaved and raped by the Islamic State group's fighters in Mosul, Iraq 4 years ago. The 25-year-old has actively campaigned for a United Nations investigation. She has urged the need to collect and preserve evidence of acts that may be tantamount to war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide against Yazidi women and girls. She claims not a single person in Iraq has been detained for their actions.
The predicament of the Yazidis in the prisons of ISIS has not changed. They have not been able to leave the camps. Nothing of what ISIS destroyed has been rebuilt. So far, the perpetrators of the crimes which led to this genocide have not been brought to justice.
Dr. Mukwege has been rewarded for his work with victims of sexual violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He has treated thousands of women at the Panzi Hospital each year, with many requiring surgery for sexual assault. He has urged world leaders to end sexual violence as a weapon of war, which he says is destroying civilizations.
Rape, massacres, torture, widespread insecurity, and a flagrant lack of education create a spiral of unprecedented violence. The human cost of this perverted, organised chaos has been hundreds of thousands of women raped.
The Nobel Committee hailed the recipients as two of the strongest voices in the world today. The laureates have shared the $1.4 million prize.
That's all for this edition, but don't go away. There's more news and information coming.
Il est pratiquement 20h à Paris. Bienvenue dans cette édition spéciale consacrée à la réponse d'Emmanuel Macron face à la crise des gilets jaunes. Le président français va prendre la parole dans une allocution enregistrée pour tenter de désamorcer la crise. Emmanuel Macron devra annoncer des mesures concrètes et immédiates. Les manifestants et les députés attendent des mesures fortes. Le discours d'Emmanuel Macron, alors, va-t-il convaincre les gilets jaunes? Comment répondre à leur colère? Sommes-nous à un tournant du quinquennat? Y aura-t-il un virage social, un virage fiscal? Les annonces vont-elles suffire? Emmanuel Macron pourra-t-il poursuivre les réformes? On suivra son discours avec Roselyne Fèvre, qui est chef du service politique de France 24. Bonsoir Roselyne.
Bonsoir Stéphanie.
Également à mes côtés, Jean-Marc Vittori, éditorialiste aux Échos, et également Émilie Cariou, députée La République En Marche de la Meuse. On écoute tout de suite le président de la République.
Françaises, Français. Nous voilà ensemble au rendez-vous de notre pays et de notre avenir. Les événements de ces dernières semaines dans l'Hexagone et Outre-mer ont profondément troublé la nation. Ils ont mêlé des revendications légitimes et un enchaînement de violences inadmissibles. Et je veux vous le dire d'emblée, ces violences ne bénéficieront d'aucune indulgence. Nous avons tous vu le jeu des opportunistes qui ont essayé de profiter des colères sincères pour les dévoyer. Nous avons tous vu les irresponsables politiques dont le seul projet était de bousculer la République, cherchant le désordre et l'anarchie. Aucune colère ne justifie qu'on s'attaque à un policier, à un gendarme, qu'on dégrade un commerce ou des bâtiments publics. Notre liberté n'existe que parce que chacun peut exprimer ses opinions, que d'autres peuvent ne pas les partager, sans que personne n'ait à avoir peur de ses désaccords. Quand la violence se déchaîne, la liberté cesse. C'est donc désormais le calme et l'ordre républicain qui doivent régner. Nous y mettrons tous les moyens, car rien ne se construira de durable tant qu'on aura des craintes pour la paix civile. J'ai donné en ce sens au gouvernement les instructions les plus rigoureuses. Mais au début de tout cela, je n'oublie pas qu'il y a une colère, une indignation. Et cette indignation, beaucoup d'entre nous, beaucoup de Français peuvent la partager. Et celle-là, je ne veux pas la réduire aux comportements inacceptables que je viens de dénoncer. Ce fut d'abord la colère contre une taxe, et le Premier ministre a apporté une réponse en annulant et en supprimant toutes les augmentations prévues pour le début d'année prochaine. Mais cette colère est plus profonde. Je la ressens comme juste à bien des égards. Et elle peut être notre chance. C'est celle du couple de salariés qui ne finit pas le mois et se lève chaque jour tôt et revient tard pour aller travailler loin. C'est celle de la mère de famille, célibataire, veuve ou divorcée qui ne vit même plus, qui n'a pas les moyens de faire garder les enfants et d'améliorer ses fins de mois et n'a plus d'espoir. Je les ai vues, ces femmes de courage, pour la première fois disant cette détresse sur tant de ronds-points. C'est celle des retraités modestes, qui ont contribué toute leur vie et souvent aident à la fois parents et enfants et ne s'en sortent pas. C'est celle des plus fragiles, des personnes en situation de handicap, dont la place dans la société n'est pas encore assez reconnue. Leur détresse ne date pas d'hier. Mais nous avions fini lâchement par nous y habituer. Et au fond, tout se passait comme s'ils étaient oubliés, effacés. Ce sont 40 années de malaise qui ressurgissent. Malaise des travailleurs qui ne s'y retrouvent plus, malaise des territoires, villages comme quartiers, où on voit les services publics se réduire et le cadre de vie disparaître, malaise démocratique, où se développe le sentiment de ne pas être entendu, malaise face au changement de notre société, à une laïcité bousculée et devant des modes de vie qui créent des barrières, de la distance. Cela vient de très loin, mais c'est là, maintenant. Sans doute n'avons-nous pas su depuis 1 an et demi y apporter une réponse suffisamment rapide et forte. Je prends ma part de cette responsabilité. Il a pu m'arriver de vous donner le sentiment que ce n'était pas mon souci, que j'avais d'autres priorités. Je sais aussi qu'il m'est arrivé de blesser certains d'entre vous par mes propos. Je veux ce soir être très clair avec vous. Si je me suis battu pour bousculer le système politique en place, les habitudes, les hypocrisies, c'est précisément parce que je crois plus que tout dans notre pays et que je l'aime. Et ma légitimité, je ne la tire d'aucun titre, d'aucun parti, d'aucune coterie, je ne la tire que de vous, de nul autre. Nombre d'autres pays traversent ce mal-vivre qui est le nôtre. Mais je crois profondément que nous pouvons trouver une voie pour en sortir tous ensemble. Je le veux pour la France, parce que c'est notre vocation, au travers de l'histoire, d'ouvrir ainsi des chemins jamais explorés, pour nous-mêmes et pour le monde. Je le veux pour nous tous, Français, parce qu'un peuple qui se divise à ce point, qui ne respecte plus ses lois et l'amitié qui doit l'unir, est un peuple qui court à sa perte. Je le veux aussi, parce que c'est en pressentant cette crise que je me suis présenté à votre suffrage pour réconcilier et entraîner, et que je n'ai pas oublié cet engagement et cette nécessité. C'est d'abord l'état d'urgence économique et social que je veux décréter aujourd'hui. Nous voulons bâtir une France du mérite, du travail, une France où nos enfants vivront mieux que nous. Cela ne peut se faire que par une meilleure école, des universités, de l'apprentissage et des formations qui apprennent aux plus jeunes et aux moins jeunes ce qu'il faut pour vivre libre et travailler. L'investissement dans la nation, dans l'école et la formation est inédit. Et je le confirme. Nous voulons une France où l'on peut vivre dignement de son travail. Sur ce point, nous sommes allés trop lentement. Je veux intervenir vite et concrètement sur ce sujet. Je demande au gouvernement et au Parlement de faire le nécessaire afin qu'on puisse vivre mieux de son travail dès le début d'année prochaine. Le salaire d'un travailleur au Smic augmentera de 100 € par mois dès 2019, sans qu'il en coûte 1 € de plus pour l'employeur. Je veux renouer avec une idée juste, que le surcroît de travail accepté constitue un surcroît de revenus. Les heures supplémentaires seront versées sans impôt ni charge dès 2019. Et je veux qu'une vraie amélioration soit tout de suite perceptible. C'est pourquoi je demanderai à tous les employeurs qui le peuvent de verser une prime de fin d'année à leurs employés. Et cette prime n'aura à acquitter ni impôt ni charge. Les retraités constituent une partie précieuse de notre nation. Pour ceux qui touchent moins de 2 000 € par mois, nous annulerons en 2019 la hausse de CSG subie cette année. L'effort qui leur a été demandé était trop important et il n'était pas juste. Dès demain, le Premier ministre présentera l'ensemble de ses décisions aux parlementaires. Mais nous ne devons pas nous arrêter là. J'ai besoin que nos grandes entreprises, nos concitoyens les plus fortunés, aident la nation à réussir. Je les réunirai et prendrai des décisions en ce sens dès cette semaine. Je sais que certains voudraient, dans ce contexte, que je revienne sur la réforme de l'impôt sur la fortune. Mais pendant près de 40 ans, il a existé. Vivions-nous mieux durant cette période? Les plus riches partaient et notre pays s'affaiblissait. Conformément aux engagements pris devant vous, cet impôt a été supprimé pour ceux qui investissent dans notre économie et donc aident à créer des emplois. Et il a été maintenu au contraire pour ceux qui ont une fortune immobilière. Revenir en arrière nous affaiblirait alors même que nous sommes en train de recréer des emplois dans tous les secteurs. Cependant, le gouvernement et le Parlement devront aller plus loin pour mettre fin aux avantages indus et aux évasions fiscales. Le dirigeant d'une entreprise française doit payer ses impôts en France. Et les grandes entreprises qui y font du profit doivent y payer l'impôt. C'est la simple justice. Vous le voyez, nous répondrons à l'urgence économique et sociale par des mesures fortes, par des baisses d'impôts plus rapides, par une meilleure maîtrise des dépenses, plutôt que par des reculs. J'entends que le gouvernement poursuive l'ambition des transformations de notre pays, que le peuple a choisi il y a maintenant 18 mois. Nous avons devant nous à conduire une réforme profonde de l'État, de l'indemnisation du chômage et des retraites. Elles sont indispensables. Nous voulons des règles plus justes, plus simples, plus claires et qui récompensent ceux qui travaillent. Mais aujourd'hui, c'est aussi avec notre projet collectif que nous devons renouer, pour la France et pour l'Europe. C'est pourquoi le débat national annoncé doit être beaucoup plus large. Pour cela, nous devons avant toute chose assumer tous ensemble tous nos devoirs. Le devoir de produire pour pouvoir redistribuer, le devoir d'apprendre pour être un citoyen libre, le devoir de changer pour tenir compte de l'urgence de notre dette climatique et budgétaire. Pour réussir, nous devons nous rassembler et aborder ensemble toutes les questions essentielles à la nation. Je veux que soient posées les questions qui touchent à la représentation, la possibilité de voir les courants d'opinion mieux entendus dans leur diversité, une loi électorale plus juste, la prise en compte du vote blanc, et même que soient admis à participer au débat des citoyens n'appartenant pas à des partis. Je veux que soit posée la question de l'équilibre de notre fiscalité, pour qu'elle permette à la fois la justice et l'efficacité du pays. Je veux que soit posée la question de notre quotidien, pour faire face au changement climatique, se loger, se déplacer, se chauffer. Et les bonnes solutions émergeront aussi du terrain. Je veux que soit posée la question de l'organisation de l'État, de la manière dont il est gouverné et administré depuis Paris, sans doute trop centralisé depuis des décennies, et la question du service public dans tous nos territoires. Je veux aussi que nous mettions d'accord la nation avec elle-même sur ce qu'est son identité profonde, que nous abordions la question de l'immigration. Il nous faut l'affronter. Ces changements de fond, qui demandent une réflexion profonde et partagée, imposent un débat sans précédent. Il devra se dérouler au niveau national. Dans nos institutions, chacun y aura sa part. Gouvernement, assemblée, partenaires sociaux et associatifs. Vous y aurez votre part. Je veux en assurer moi-même la coordination, en recevoir les avis, pour rendre ainsi le pouls vivant de notre pays. Mais un tel débat n'est pas seulement affaire de représentants institutionnels. Il doit se dérouler aussi partout sur le terrain. Et il est des interlocuteurs naturels des citoyens qui doivent en recevoir les demandes et s'en faire les relais. Ce sont les maires. Ils portent la République sur le terrain. C'est pourquoi je rencontrerai moi-même les maires de France, région par région, pour bâtir le socle de notre nouveau contrat pour la nation. Nous ne reprendrons pas le cours normal de nos vies, comme trop souvent par le passé dans des crises semblables, sans que rien n'ait été vraiment compris et sans que rien n'ait changé. Nous sommes à un moment historique pour notre pays. Par le dialogue, le respect, l'engagement, nous réussirons. Nous sommes à la tâche et je reviendrai m'exprimer devant vous pour vous rendre compte. Mon seul souci, c'est vous. Mon seul combat, c'est pour vous. Notre seule bataille, c'est pour la France. Vive la République. Vive la France.
Le 31 mars, la frontière de l'Irlande du Nord deviendra la frontière avec l'Union européenne. Des gens la traversent tous les jours. Ils ne veulent pas voir leur vie changer. Si cette Chambre se soucie de l'unité du Royaume-Uni, il faut écouter ces gens.
Elle se rendra toutefois à Bruxelles pour obtenir des garanties juridiques pour s'assurer que le backstop ne soit que temporaire. De leur côté, l'Irlande du Nord et l'Union européenne ont d'ores et déjà affirmé qu'aucune renégociation n'était possible. Mais bonne nouvelle pour les opposants au Brexit, la Cour européenne de justice a jugé que le Royaume-Uni pouvait renoncer au Brexit sans l'aval des autres États membres. L'annonce du report du vote sur l'accord a effrayé les marchés. La livre sterling a fortement décroché après l'annonce. En cas de sortie sans accord le 29 mars prochain, le FMI prédit de sérieuses conséquences économiques pour la Grande-Bretagne.
Crise politique en Belgique à cause du pacte mondial des Nations Unies sur l'immigration qui a été adopté lors d'une conférence à Marrakech. 5 ministres ont démissionné. Le Premier ministre se retrouve désormais à la tête d'un gouvernement sans majorité et c'est une première. Hélène Goutani.
Ils ont mis leurs menaces à exécution. Les 5 ministres du parti nationaliste flamand ont démissionné.
Nous avons été clairs que nous ne soutenons pas un gouvernement qui approuve ce pacte. Si le gouvernement veut lier notre pays à Marrakech, nous ne l'accepterons pas.
Ce pacte, c'est un texte de l'ONU sur les questions migratoires. Le Premier ministre belge s'est engagé à le signer ce lundi, après l'avoir fait valider par le Parlement. Son voyage à Marrakech pour sa signature était au cœur de l'ultimatum imposé par la NVA. Mais Charles Michel n'a pas cédé.
Bonsoir. Cela signifie donc que je pars demain pour la conférence internationale de l'ONU. Au nom du gouvernement et pour défendre la Belgique, je quitte la tête du gouvernement d'une coalition orange et bleue.
Le Premier ministre belge est désormais à la tête d'un gouvernement sans majorité. L'équipe au pouvoir maintient le suivi des affaires courantes jusqu'aux prochaines élections législatives dans 5 mois. Le pacte de Marrakech continue de diviser. L'Italie, la Suisse, la Pologne et 7 autres pays européens ont décidé de ne pas se rendre au Maroc. Le texte pourtant reste non contraignant et se contente d'énoncer une vingtaine de propositions pour aider les pays à faire face aux migrations.
Denis Mukwege et Nadia Mourad ont solennellement reçu aujourd'hui leur prix Nobel de la paix à Oslo. Tous deux ont appelé à renoncer à l'indifférence et à protéger les victimes de violences sexuelles. Je cite le gynécologue congolais, ce ne sont pas seulement les auteurs de violences qui sont responsables de leurs crimes, mais aussi ceux qui choisissent de détourner le regard.
Je ne veux plus de compassion. Je veux que ce sentiment soit transposé en action sur le terrain. Si la communauté internationale est sincère dans sa volonté d'apporter une aide aux victimes de ce génocide, si vous voulez que ces Yézidis quittent leur campement et retournent chez eux, et qu'ils regagnent confiance, eh bien la communauté internationale doit leur garantir une protection.
C'est au nom du peuple congolais que j'accepte le prix Nobel de la paix. C'est à toutes les victimes de violences sexuelles à travers le monde que je dédie ces prix. C'est avec humilité que je me présente à vous, portant haut la voix des victimes de violences sexuelles dans les conflits et les espoirs de mes compatriotes. Je saisis cette occasion pour remercier tous ceux qui, pendant ces années, ont soutenu notre combat.
Carlos Ghosn reste en prison. Sa détention a été prolongée. Elle dure depuis le 19 novembre dernier. Le parquet de Tokyo a inculpé le PDG de Renault.